itself is going to be one where you'll each learn something about each other and how I, as a parent, can really be supportive rather than what I seem to be sometimes doing, which is annoying you. And you can learn something about what I, as a parent, what makes me feel like chill, like I know what's going on, and I know that you have a handle on it, or I know how to help you get a handle on it as you're trying to figure something out. So, just a little bit of disclosure. Last week, as I was getting ready for this conversation with you guys, I adapted this worksheet, which we use actually with professionals, managers, leaders, so I adapted it for this context. And I wanted to know whether it was going to work. So I said to my sons, who are 13 and 16, could you guys try this out and tell me, like, are the questions clear, and what's the, if we have a conversation that actually is helpful. So I get my son, my 16-year-old, fills it out, and he hands it back to me. I look at it. You know these questions? When is it not helpful to have you there? He had written, always. When it's great if you can be there. I'll think about it. Now, he's a Nordic ski racer. And what ensued was actually a really interesting, and he's also a cross-country runner, long-distance runner. What ensued was actually a really interesting conversation about why he actually feels relieved if I can't come, because for him it's distracting, and how what he does not want me to ask him afterwards about, not how did you do. He said, don't ask me how I did. Ask me, how did you feel about it? Or ask me, did you have fun? And he said, I actually like it when you come to the fun races that I do, because he's running a 5K every Tuesday night this summer. He's like, that's actually really fun, because the stakes feel lower for me. But when I'm on the team and I'm trying to be focused, even just knowing you're there makes me a little bit anxious. And I know that you support me. So if you feel like you're showing up to show that you support me, I got the message. Now this leaves me with a tough conversation to have with myself, actually, because I want to be there, although I'm at least as anxious as he is. And last year, he did, during the Nordic season, ask me and his dad not to come, and we mostly complied with that. I will admit to lurking once. I don't think he knew I was there. I was like behind a bush. But it's interesting because part of my reaction is about our relationship and wanting to do what's helpful in our relationship. But part of my reaction is like, my goodness, the other parents at his school must think this poor kid, no one ever shows up for him. So I feel like it hurts my reputation as a parent in this tiny town where I live because I'm not showing up and they think we're like neglectful or something. So it's an interesting negotiation to have with myself because some of that is just about me and my identity as a parent. Why did I have the opportunity and the honor to be here to talk with and work with the faculty and staff and coaches yesterday and you today? Yesterday we talked about how to have important conversations where we're all aligned in wanting to do the best thing, but we may not always agree on what that thing is. How much responsibility to give you guys as students to figure it out yourselves, because that's the suite of skills that you need in order to succeed in life. And we're not doing you any favors if we don't share that responsibility with you. But that requires us to have some hard conversations sometimes with each other in the community, between staff and faculty and coaches and students and teachers and students and everybody and parents, as we all are really trying to do the right thing and feel emotionally invested in doing that, but have to figure out why we have different assumptions about what that thing might be in this particular moment. And the faculty and the staff and the coaches here are so incredibly invested. Every organization and every person on the planet has difficult conversations. I have learned working on 6 continents. But when an organization is interested in getting better at that, it actually tells me 2 things about that organization, which are signs of health. It tells me that the people who are here care deeply about what they're doing and about doing it as well as they possibly can. And number two, they care deeply about the people they're doing it with. Because wanting to keep good working relationships and not unnecessarily hurt people, but also to know when to step aside because someone needs to learn something, is some of the most challenging but also the most important things for all of us to learn in life. I'm going to close with one last story, which I told at the end of the day yesterday as well. It seems apt. So this is a piece of research. A number of years ago, researchers actually took students, and they told each student, one by one, you're going to give a talk. It starts in that building over there across campus. And on the pathway between the two buildings, it starts in 5 minutes. On the pathway between the two buildings, they had planted someone who was designed to look like they were in physical distress, and they needed help. They were on the ground. And they got rid of any bystanders, to get rid of the bystander effect. And what they wanted to know was what percentage of people would stop to help. Based on your life experience, what percentage of people do you think stop to help? 2. I am sorry for your life. 2. Anybody have a different number? 10. 50%. What, do you think 50? You would hope 80, right? Is anybody 80 or higher? Yeah, higher. Okay, by the way, I asked this question in Canada once, and the whole room immediately agreed it was 90%. And I said, no, the study was in the US, like, 5%. So it's interesting to think about, why we have such different, from 2% to 80 or 90% different expectations in the world based on our personal experience. But we don't have time to talk about that, so I'll tell you the answer. 10% stopped. Now I'll tell you a little bit more about the students that they used, because they weren't just random graduate students. They were actually seminary students who were studying to be clergy, ministers and pastors and rabbi. And the talk that they were told to go give was on the parable of the Good Samaritan and the importance of helping a stranger in need. Yes. Now, why do I tell this inspiring story at the end of our time together? Let me be really clear. It is not at all to point a finger and say, oh, look at those hypocritical seminarians. I work with seminarians regularly. It's some of the most rewarding work that I do. It's instead to acknowledge that those seminarians are us. In other words, when we take a few minutes to reflect on how we hope to handle some of our most important conversations, how we hope to handle some of our most challenging setbacks, and to figure it out, and to help each other figure it out, we have good advice for ourselves, and we have all kinds of good intentions. Once we get into school year and the race season, and you're facing the challenge, and it's right now, and you kind of feel depleted, and I don't know if I'm up to this, and by the way, I don't agree with what you think we should do here. I think we should do it this way. It's so easy not to walk the talk and follow our own advice. Right? When you're rushing from point A to point B, by the way, they did a second version of the study where instead of saying you've got 5 minutes until you give the talk, they said you have 20 minutes, 50% stopped. There's something about the stress and the perceived time limitations that means that we don't follow our own advice in how we engage with each other when we're under that stress. So my hope for all of you as a whole community is that we equip you to actually take some of these ideas and these tools and these skills and to use them when you step back into the regular school year and the regular seasons, and you're rushing from point A to point B, that you see the opportunity to reach out a hand and to help someone to the other side of an important conversation and an important learning opportunity. Good luck.
Thank you, Sheila. Okay, we're all off to lunch and then back on your printed schedule for coaching meetings, advisor meetings, and so forth. Thank you.